Right then, so we're going to begin by putting the downpipe back on the car. This is one of the last things to come off, so it only makes sense that I put this on. I do think I'm going to have to remove the steering linkage to access the bottom bolts, but it is what it is. Now, when I pulled this out from the shelf, I did notice the shiny bit where I started polishing it back in the unit. So you can only guess what we're going to be doing before I put it back on, because I've just got to, guys. I'm using this Peak stuff. I found this left over on the shelf, and then I've got a Brillo pad. I expect this is going to take a while, and I've made myself a list. I've made a list of things I want to get done today, having had the week off and not getting a video out. I really want to make some progress. So this may or may not be a bad idea, but let's just crack on. It was definitely a bad idea. It took absolutely ages, and I tried various different methods, from a Brillo pad to a drill attachment, to even going as far as an angle grinder, which I know might offend a few people, but yeah, I did it, and in the end I decided, you know what, I should just put it on the car because I'm going to get nothing done. Right guys, I've been at it for about 45 minutes. This is the result. I've had enough, so we're just going to go ahead and whack it on the car. I think it looks better than it did, albeit, you know, patchy. Right then, so I've got my gasket in place. This is extremely awkward already. How does that work? There's a nut in my way. Right, so this is the trouble we're having. This is catching on this. So I guess this is bent in transport, and this needs to be on this side, and this will go through here, and then we can put a nut on there to secure this to the box. So yeah, you have to take it back off and bend that piece of metal. There's no way it goes on that side because that's a welded nut. So good news, the downpipe is in and all bolted down. I'm pretty darn pleased with it. It was an absolute nightmare to get to the bolts properly, so I didn't end up recording it, unfortunately, but she's in. We've still got to connect the O2 sensor up, so I'll do that a little bit later on. But yeah, there we go. Really pleased. There is a gap, but you've got the gasket in between that, so I don't think it's going to leak any fumes. Let me know if the bolts need to be a hell of a lot tighter than that. Right then, with the downpipe on, we can move on. I've organised just a few of the main bits that need to go on the car. So we've got the knuckles, we've got the Koyo wheel bearings, we've got the genuine Subaru ball joints to go in, we've got the control arm and bushing. I've already put one of them on. We've got the Road Series Powerflex front sway bar bushings, we've got the O2 sensor, we've got the 555 tie rods, and we've got the ABS sensors. I do need to figure out what I'm doing with these. This is the old connection. I'm hoping that I can just splice them, you know, cut this off and splice them together, because this is for the hatchback, whereas, well yeah, it won't fit essentially, because we need this connection. And I think they're about £39 a piece, so I don't particularly want to buy two more. And we've got the hubs, the drive flanges. I've rust treated these. This is the rear one. As far as what we do next, I think we'll remove the old wheel bearing from this knuckle, and then we'll put in the two wheel bearings, and then we can push in the drive flanges, and then at least that's done. The suspension, I still need to strip all this down. So although that could all in theory be connected up to the car and only need brake discs and calipers to go on, we need to do something with this mess. So yeah, we're making progress though. So this is our knuckle. If we're pushing a new bearing in for the front hub, we push it in that way, and if we're pushing it out, we push it that way. So we've got to position it in such a way that it's, well, give me 5 minutes and I'll figure something out. The best tool you can use for removing an old wheel bearing is an old wheel bearing. So if we pop that in there, that is the perfect size for removing. With that being said, you might end up getting the old one stuck, which I have done before. I've just lost my light. You're just about to see that. It is coming out, but I've potentially got the other one stuck now. There we go. Right then, and this is our new one. I'll show you a little bit later on what else you get in the packet, but it's just the reverse now. Right then, so we've got our new wheel bearing lined up in the knuckle, and then we've got our old wheel bearing. 1 second. The wheel bearing that we've just removed, we'll place on top. And then we've got just an attachment out of our bushing kit, bearing kit. And then we'll just push that down. You'll notice all the rust is coming back through again. If you didn't watch the earlier videos of me talking about it, I got the knuckles powder coated, the subframes and whatnot. I got them all back, and then for some reason, all the rust was coming through again. And again, it seems to be an issue again. I'm not sure if it's because this is cast iron and maybe that's a little bit more difficult to powder coat. I'm not too sure. Because the subframes, I'm not having any issue with rust coming back through, so it's just an issue with these knuckles now. It is what it is. We're too far in the build now to be worried about it, if I'm honest. So, yeah, let's begin to push the new bearing in. Alright, we've hit the end. Good news and bad news. We'll start with the good news. As you know, I managed to get the wheel bearing in, and off camera I put in the retaining clip that goes underneath here, and I've put in the outer seal, and I've also put in the seal this side. Looks a little bit bent, doesn't it? I don't know if I'll get away with that. It's a little bit warped. This isn't the bad news, by the way. It gets much worse than this. Yeah, I don't know if I'll get away with that. This is essentially this is slightly warped. Look, it's a little bit caved in up here. That's why it's a little bit difficult to get that in, and that's why I bent it. God, it looks really bad on camera. Let me know if I'll get away with that or not. That seal being like that, but yeah, that's the good news, that I've managed to get one wheel bearing in just fine. However, the bad news is, whilst trying to get the other one in, I've killed the wheel bearing. Completely ruined it. So that's £40 down the drain. But it gets much worse than that. The knuckle, I've completely ruined. Well, for one, all the powder coating's chipping away, and all the rust is sat underneath. But yeah, as you can see, there's a lip where I've tried pushing the wheel bearing in a little bit too hard, and yeah, I've killed the knuckle in the process. I don't even think I'd get away with that, even if I filed it down and done it that way. Yeah, it doesn't look great at all, does it? It's just how it goes sometimes. It's purely just lack of experience I'm putting it down to, and maybe just being a moron. But yeah, it's £100 for a new knuckle and £40 for a new wheel bearing. So all in all, I'm £180 down by the time I've bought the knuckle and the wheel bearing. So yeah, I never factored this in. I thought it was going to be a breeze, because in the unit, when I had to get the car rolling, I put the wheel bearings in and I had no problem whatsoever. It was an absolute breeze. With that being said, they weren't powder coated at the time, so the powder coating hasn't helped. It has added a an extra layer to everything. So yeah, that is that. I'm not I've calmed down now. I'm not as bothered, but at the time I was quite pissed off with myself. Right then, my inner tie rod tool has finally arrived, so we're going to be tightening up the inner rods and then securing the boots. My original idea was to remove these inner rods and put the 555 tie rods on, but these are brand new, so we'll just keep the 555 as spare. And that should be good. That should be okay. Alright, that's the boot done. Now these inner boots come with cable ties, so I can only assume that it's okay to use cable ties. Right then, I'll go move the steering wheel and we'll see if it stays in place. It should do. I don't know what's that shape, that's a bit weird. Right then guys, it's a week later. I've gone ahead and crimped one of the ABS sensors together just with these electrical crimps. Seems pretty secure. I'm going to put some tape around it just to ensure that it's that extra bit secure. But yeah, time will tell whether it works or not. I don't see why not, but yeah, one less job to worry about. So we can just connect that up and at least that's done. In other news, I had a few bits arrive. We've got the sway bar nut and bolt. It did come with some brackets as well, but of course we got our old ones powder coated, so these are spare. I'm sure we might need them one day. Next up, we've got some clips to secure the CV boots correctly. Right then, let's get the sway bar on. We've got our Powerflex bushings. What comes in the kit, you might ask? Let me get them out. We've also got our lube as well as our polyurethane bushings. Oh, and a bracket. I do need to find the other one. But yeah, so you're going to set something like that. Looks like a strange hat, doesn't it? Almost. And there's a second one. Yeah, so that's our bushings and brackets as well as our lube. Once our sway bar's on, we can apply the cross member bracket. Hopefully I've got all the bolts for it. Pretty sure I have. But yeah, all exciting stuff because we're very, very, very near the front end being complete, minus the hubs and the brakes and the calipers, but I consider that minor stuff in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, let's crack on. Here is our lovely sway bar. I haven't greased the inner balls of the bushings yet, as I just want to do that under the car so I can line them up so I don't get grease all over the sway bar. But yeah, this is what's going on. God, I'm just getting excited, guys. I'm just really getting excited. We're getting closer and closer. Albeit we've still got the rear end to finish, which is arguably much more complicated than the front end, but I'm excited nevertheless. Note to self, apply the grease before you go under the car. I'll be honest, I've never fitted polyurethane bushings, so I don't actually know how much you apply. I could do with two pairs of hands, if I'm honest. Good news and bad news. I found the sway bar links, but they don't come with nuts. Like, what sort of... How does that make any sense? Oh, here we go. Lovely new tie rod. Look how good that looks. Genuine Subaru as well. Can you believe it? Right, there we go. Right then, so these are the nuts. They go on nice and easy up to a point. I don't know what size they are. I think they're a 14. Right then guys, we've got our stealth bomber ready to go on the car. So actually sits something like that. Now, the bad news is I've only got 2 of the nuts. Now, the nut size is M10 and the thread pitch is 1.25, which, fully enough, in that bag, the nuts for the sway bar are actually the same. So I've got 4 nuts left, which I could potentially use to get this in place. But do I use them is the question, because I've had a look on ICP and they no longer sell them. Well, they're out of stock, which either they don't sell them or I'll be waiting God knows how long for them to come in stock. I have, however, found some on Amazon for £6 and you get 10. So I'm half tempted. I'm like, you know what, screw it. One thing I should mention is that I've been drawing a line on all of the bolts that I've torqued down, so then when it's back on the road and we've driven it a bit, we can see if any of the bolts, you know, if something starts knocking, at least then we can look under and it'll give us an indication on what might be knocking. I have read that apparently these control arm bolts, you're supposed to torque them while there's weight on the car. I'm not particularly sure how you do that, but we'll cross that bridge later down the line. Right then, just in case you don't know where the ABS sensors live, they clip on to here with 2 bolts and the connector goes through this hole. There's a rubber grommet that covers that, and then we've got a connector here, so our hole's here and then it connects here. That's for the passenger side. For the driver's side, our connector's here and the hole is just there. Alright, so I'll leave you guys in that awful position there and we'll put the cable through. There we go. That's the ABS sensor in. I'm pretty sure it's the right way up. I mean, it says R for right side, but I'm just not sure what this is for. This is obviously to connect onto the strut, and then this connects into your hub, but beyond that, I'm not too sure. This will be for the headlight sensor, which I believe connects here. Yeah, let me know if that is wrong, and I'll move it around, but yeah. Look at that. Beautiful. And there we have it. Just look how incredible it looks. I can't believe it. It just looks phenomenal. We're making progress, guys, and especially look at that, paired with all this. Oh, God, I'm excited. I'm so excited. I'm over the moon. Over the moon. Right then, guys, I'm going to call it at that. We've made a serious amount of progress on the front end, but there is still an awful lot to do, which is why this will be part 1 of a 2-parter. It would have been nice to get this all in one video, but God knows when it will be out if I'm just waiting around. So stay tuned for that. We've got the knuckles to sort, we've got the Brembos to rebuild, which will be a video in itself. We've got the suspension to sort, and I'm sure there'll be a few other odds and ends that need sorted as well in part 2. So stay tuned for that. But in the next video, we're going to be rebuilding the suspension, because with the suspension done, I can pretty much finish the front end for the most part. So yeah, as always, if you made it this far, thank you very much. I really am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel now. It's feeling good. I have started work on the rear end and I am quite a way into it, but because I've dedicated most of the last month's budget into finishing the front end, so the rear end's taken a bit of a hit, but you know, rest assured, I am working on the rear end, or I have been working on the rear end. So yeah, that is that. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that rubbish, and I shall see you in the next one.